Hello. Hi, there I am. Welcome back. It's me, Gazbot, or better here, Gazbot Knight. This is Action Activate. The Big Dawg Defender is with us. His camera is just off right this second. He'll be joining us shortly. And this is our Power Rangers news review and discussion show. We're going to be talking about episode 3 of Beast Morphers, of course, as we do. And we do this live every Monday starting at 5 p.m. California, U.S. Western Time, and then it rebroadcasts on YouTube the following day. Above me, you can see a work in progress already. I'm an artist. I do a lot of Power Rangers art, and today I am working on a piece which you will see come to fruition mostly by the end. I'm not working on it now. I did it earlier today. That's just the recording. But before we get into the episode, we like to talk about news, reviews, all that kind of stuff, things that are coming up in the Power Ranger world. Let me take a look over at chat. Looks like we got a few people already hanging out. Dolly Girl, among others. Thanks for checking us out. Hey, look.
Hello.
There's the Big Dawg Defender. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
Well, I'm doing better now that you're here because, we're a team and I need the energy from you. So, well, like I was saying, before we get into the episode proper, a couple news, trivia item things. I made a few notes. One thing, this is trivia. Last week we talked a lot about Scrozzle, the U.S. only character, and I didn't realize this, but I saw actually somebody named Lee Hill on a Power Rangers Hyperforce fan club was mentioning that Scrozzle is a real word. And it's a computer term, and they put the definition: used when a self-modifying code segment runs incorrectly and corrupts the running program or vital data. And then the damn compiler scrozzled itself again. So that's pretty cool that it's a real computer word and it fits his character, and So I thought that was some interesting trivia that I did not previously know.
That's pretty cool. I didn't know that either.
Yeah, I would definitely not have known that. That's why I wanted to give credit to the person who said it. And then what was the other thing? Oh, this is just sort of a side thing, and I don't have a graphic for it, but on Instagram, like a lot of us, we probably follow a lot of different Power Rangers sites and things. And I follow this one thing on Instagram that I found recently, and it's called The Power Scoop. And it talks a lot about like when a new voice actor is announced for Beast Morphers. It's like so-and-so actor is going to be voicing the monster this episode. And it had things for auditions when like, oh, they're looking for someone to play an artist on the street. Like, which doesn't work for me, even though I'm an artist and I would love to be in Power Rangers because it's in New Zealand. But things like that's kind of all it does. It's kind of very like industry side, and they don't spam it. There's only like 1 or 2 a day, but I found it interesting, and I thought others might as well, especially if you're looking to get into it and you live in New Zealand. There's some opportunities there, but at the very least, it gives you a heads up to like new actors and casting and things like that might be interesting to people.
I think that's cool too. So from that, did you see any names or faces that you recognize so far?
Not that only ones that we've already seen. And I just started following it, so there might be some further back. Hi, Dolly Girl in chat, and we also got Matt Kendall Claire. Hello to you as well.
Hello to both of you.
Yeah, so it's worth checking out. Like I don't know. I mean, there might be more exciting things happening down the road, but it's just an interesting. I haven't seen that take on it. You know what I mean? Usually it's just fan pictures and things like that. What was the other thing I wanted to say? Oh, okay. I'm gonna go to a one shot here. I think I fixed my video problem, so it won't restart. Recently, there's a new game coming out, Power Rangers Battle for the Grid, which I go back and forth on if I'm going to play it or not. I dyed my hair blonde, by the way, for those that watched it last week. I didn't get scared or become Super Saiyajin or something. But they recently...
You're the Avatar! You're Gaz's Avatar!
I'm please. So they announced for the game the initial starting 9 characters. Sorry, I don't have a screenshot I could show you. This just happened. So we got Jason Lee Scott as Red. Then we got Gia as Super Mega Force Yellow. We got Goldar. We got Magna Defender, which is awesome. I didn't think he'd be in the starting lineup. This one, I don't know if they've introduced to the other game yet, but the Mastodon Sentry, which I thought was an interesting one. Okay, so it's first in this game, so that's cool. And then of course we got Mighty Morphin Green, which would be shocking if they didn't. Lord Draken, which again is interesting that they have Lord Draken and Mighty Morphin in the initial wave. You would think that maybe they'd spread them out. Some people said Mighty Morphin Pink was going to be in it, but I think what they were seeing was Ranger Slayer. And then the final one, Cat Manx, I want to call it Deca Swan. Cat Manx from SPD. So an interesting lineup, a little bit new, old, a couple, choices that maybe wouldn't have been expected. But that's, I'm tempted that I might get it and try it out. I don't play a lot of video games that much anymore. I used to play the one on the phone, which I've kind of fallen off on. But you do still play the one on the phone, correct?
Play is a strong word. I check in regularly, and I play a couple times a week right now. I kind of go in waves where I either play every day or I play twice a week at most. But
that sounds like playing.
I'll be in the player category. But for those of you, and I know Gaz, you still have your account. They just hit 50 million subscribers to the
Oh
game.
wow. Okay.
So as long as you log in between now and I think 2 weeks into April, you get 10 free shards as a gift for
Oh.
Hyperforce Yellow.
Oh, Hyperforce Yellow.
Yep.
I
Which
love.
I didn't have prior. I had tried to do the morph boxes and
Right.
unlock them, and it never worked for me. So I just unlocked them today, and I know now you're going to log back in and
Yes, I do
make
still
sure
have my
you.
account. I will definitely log back in.
Yeah. So it's definitely one of those things where I think also in hyping up the new game, they're really excited as long as you play one of the games or as long as you're into Rangers. So if you've never played it, if you've been playing it on and off, if you're in between, I highly recommend logging in soon and then getting those and also just kind of seeing where you're at. For those who haven't played, it's very fun. It can be a bit addictive at times,
And
but
it is a free to play game. Like you could pay
correct.
money, so you don't have to pay anything to just try it out.
Yeah, it is a freemium model, so I've only spent a little bit of money on it to enhance my experience, but there are many ways you can get through it without paying and still have a great time. So definitely
Matt
recommend it.
Kendall Claire is saying Cat Ranger was an interesting choice. That's for sure. I agree. That was the one that kind of
Mhm.
came out of nowhere, but I like that because they're trying to not leave any of the fan base out and sort of saying here's the originals, here's some more current stuff, and then some mix in between and some expanded universe stuff. Hyperforce. Some people might not know what Hyperforce is. Power Rangers Hyperforce is a show that was on Twitch. I mean, they might rebroadcast. You can see it on YouTube now, and they did a full season of a show as though it were a tabletop. Role playing game, like a Dungeons and Dragons type thing. But they had YouTube personalities like Andre the Black Nerd, and they also had Paul. I always mess up his name. Shearer, the gentleman who played Bulk, Paul, and also Peter Sidarso, who played Ninja Steel Blue. They were in it as different Rangers, and then they had guest stars come in, like that Jason David Frank and people like that come in and
Mhm.
play their original characters. So it's actually like a really, really good season of Power Rangers that's just them talking it through, basically. And that's where Hyperforce Yellow comes from. And so it's awesome that they're keeping that around. There was a couple variant covers and things like that. I think had Hasbro not bought the property from Saban, they were possibly going to do something else with it. At this point, who knows if it's going to continue? But we got a season and it's fun. It's worth checking out if you haven't seen it.
Yeah. I haven't watched all of it like Gazbot has, but I definitely think it's cool and have seen enough clips and seen enough of the comic art from the variants and things that it's definitely worth checking out.
Yeah.
And for those of you that do like tabletop games, I think later this year the Power Rangers board game is coming out, and one of the expansions was Hyperforce.
Yeah.
So I had kickstarted the game. I got that expansion specifically for those team members, and they have a Shattered Grid expansion as well. So definitely something cool if you want to get together with some friends and you enjoy board games. It's something that I got a chance to demo out at Morphicon and kind of sold me on the whole thing.
Nice. Sorry, I'm just adjusting your one shot. Something got messed up there.
It's all good.
And back. Okay. Um, yeah, so a lot of like game related news. Haven't really heard anything about the potential next movie or anything like that. I think that was pretty much all I had for news, unless there's anything else you wanted to discuss.
There are reviews solely coming out on YouTube for the first wave of the Hasbro, I guess, basic figures.
Right.
One thing that Gazbot and I actually over the last week were talking about were how they're going to scale compared to the old Action Heroes line, the
Good
5 inch
point.
line, and the either Legacy line if you have collected that, or the new Lightning collection that Hasbro's putting out. And uh, Gaz, if it's cool with you, what are some of your views that you could share with everybody again on how you feel about the whole thing and your Power Rangers collection?
Well, here's me. Shout out real quick to MMPR Toys Bruno, who had gotten an early case from a
Mhm.
Canadian Toys R Us, so he did a good review. I like the way they look. They're not so over muscular. They're more thinner, normal looking, which I prefer in my versions of the characters.
Mhm.
I have every figure from the Legacy line, which are about 6.5 inches, and I have a handful of vintage ones. Plus, I have the vinyls that kind of scale pretty well with 6 inch as well. Um, I did not like the last couple waves of figures we've gotten. They're 5 inches. They were kind of squat and muscular, and I was not a fan. I bought a few because there were certain characters I wanted, but I was not a fan of them in general. So when the new line got announced, I like the way they look, and I was really hoping they were 6 inches so that I'm gonna get the Lightning line, and they're gonna have Beast Morpher Red in that. But I was figuring, oh, I could get Blaze and the other characters and kind of mix and match. But it seems like what they're doing is not going that big, but also not doing the 5 inch like we've had before. It seems like they're kind of going 5.5 inches maybe to sort of match the Marvel figures that come out for like Avengers, but not actual Marvel Legends, which seems to be the worst possible size because it's not. I care about scaling, and they're not going to match the more high-end figures, and it seems like they won't match the previous retail figures. And for that, I'm going to cut back to the Bigdawg because you have different investment because I want them to be 6 inch.
Hmm. For me, I'm kind of with you where I feel like this is, I don't want to say the worst case scenario because I feel like the worst case is just no figures
Correct.
at all. But in terms of scaling purposes of old collectors and new collectors, if you're new, great, start
Yeah.
fresh,
Yep.
buy these now. If you're in between, you're kind of in a pickle because if they don't scale with the previous Bandai America figures like the Dino Charge, the Ninja Steel, the Super Mega Force, it's a little bit difficult to cross those lines. I'm still going to get them either way, but it is a little unfortunate for either play or display purposes of having them a little mixed. And then to your point as well, Gaz, in terms of trying to mix those with the Lightning Collection, if it doesn't work, then we just have to hope that Blaze or Roxy or some of these other villains or secondary characters get released in the Lightning line, because then if they don't, we're kind of between a rock and a hard place of how we want everything to display and collect.
Agreed. I see chat. I'll address it in a second. Um, yeah, that's the other thing is if you like, I would opt to just get the Lightning line because I'm an adult. I'm basically gonna pose them and put them on my shelf. They don't need to be durable and whatever. But I want Blaze and Roxy and the full team. And so with the Lightning line, assuming it goes well, we will probably get the rest of the team. It might take weeks, months, years, because that's the way they do the Marvel things, where you get Wolverine and then you wait 2 years to get Cyclops. But eventually you get them all,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know how well they're going to do with the villains. So I might be tempted to get the villain figures even if they don't scale because who knows if we're going to get them in another line.
Yeah.
Real quick though, I want to address chat. Matt says, "Oh, I did get the pronunciation right for Bulk's name.
Mm-hmm.
Hyperforce is indeed awesome. Defender is right about the Heroes of the Grid board game, and they have also backed it going all in. Nice. And they're also a fan of Hyperforce, so cool. Yeah, I would love them to do more with Hyperforce. I mean, it's cool that they're getting some merchandise and things like that, but a lot of people talked about doing like an animated show because some of the actors are a little older than they would be with the time travel and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. But yeah, an animated show, just get all the voice. It would do amazing. Because kids, it would just be a cartoon, a Power Rangers cartoon. And then for the older fans, it would be like, wow, all my favorites are coming back. It would kind of be almost like the Super Mega Force season, but done, differently,
Mm-hmm.
better, dare I
I feel
say.
like also because they've teased two different points in time. I think once when Disney owned it and once when it went back to Nickelodeon of doing an animated Power
Yes.
Ranger series.
Yep.
And I know there's some mixed reasons why behind the scenes, but I honestly think it comes down to them not wanting to compete with themselves.
I think you're
With
right.
with Hasbro being in charge now, it could be a thing where maybe they have an in to try to put it on the Disney streaming service, since it's a Hasbro property that maybe they can use their leverage with
Right.
Marvel or Disney or things like that. So maybe that's an in. But other than that, I mean, worst case scenario, other than nothing happening, I think it should pivot to a comic series.
Agreed. Especially with the way they've been doing it with the mixed teams and everything after Shattered Grid.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. Well, so we could talk a little bit more after the episode, but you want to jump into what we thought of this week's episode?
Yes. So, full transparency, I
Yes.
watched the episode less than an hour ago. So, it's very fresh. So, that's the good news.
Okay.
But kind of jumping in initially, this episode is very themed,
Hmm.
for better and worse. But overall, I liked it. I felt like it was pretty good. I feel like them highlighting Roxy in this episode versus Blaze in the last one
Yeah.
was a cool way of kind of showing her strengths and weaknesses, and also making it not all about Blaze and seeing how she helps with that team, as opposed to them kind of filling the same role of this avatar is going to help this week and this avatar is going to help
Right.
next. They really have different attributes that make them a threat to the Rangers and then a threat to the city and kind of the Morphex grid as a whole.
I concur. um, Yeah, well, let's jump in from the beginning. I agree with most of what you said. I also liked the episode overall.
Mhm.
And so here we go with the slideshow. So we start off at the base, end of the road, the name of I didn't even think about that. The title, end of the road. I guess because later on we see them constructing a road. Oh, and they literally end the build. Spoilers. They end
Exactly.
the
Yes.
building of the road. But it's weird because you think it's like end of the road for a villain or some hero learns a lesson or like
Yeah.
But they are being very literal. It is the end of a road. That I didn't catch that either time I watched
Yeah.
it. So here we see, oh man, here we go with my being bad with names. Silva, I forget his name. He's basically saying, "Hey, I invented a way to combine the weapons." And
Mhm.
again, we knew this was going to happen, but I always like when they dress it a little bit rather than just showing up. Okay, he's working
Yeah.
in the base, and I took probably too many screenshots here.
I like how with the cannon we kind of see it in comparison to the normal blaster and the sabers, and then as we go, we kind of see what makes it different than those, even though it clearly looks similar.
Right. Yeah, I agree. It has a different like energy signature as well when it fires.
Mhm.
And then like a hard left turn where he's like, "Check out this awesome weapon." She's like, "Great. What about the bike I asked you to build?" And he's like, "What?" So these are the Morphex bikes. Now, full disclosure, I try not to. I'm not the type of person that watches the previews before an episode if I can help it. But in
Mhm.
this case, I did somewhere see like that a big part of this episode was going to be about bikes, and I saw Power Rangers suited up chasing Blaze on bikes, and I was like, oh no, is this episode going to be terrible? Like it was my first like, is this gonna um,
Making you nervous.
yeah, it ended up not being as bad as I thought, but my initial thought was, oh boy, this looks terrible.
Yeah.
But so apparently she's some kind of designer now because she says she didn't ask him to do it. She said, I've given you plans. Have you built it for me, right?
The way I took that is kind of like in the past where I'm not an artist, but I said, "Hey, you know what would look really cool is if you drew this thing this way." And that's
Right.
kind of how I took it. Is he went, "Oh yeah, let me just change this bike and do this," and bloop, there you go. Now it runs on more effects, and it's really cool.
That
Uh,
makes sense.
yeah, the one thing I didn't like about the bike, and this is being incredibly nitpicky, is they say that you can either pedal to run it or it'll kind of ride itself like a moped
Yeah.
of some sort, but it had no throttle. That's
Well,
the only thing that bugged
let
me.
me see if I can find a watch. Yeah, you're right. Maybe it's
It
like
just has
it's
a
built.
handbrake.
Maybe like it turns, or maybe it's like on the feet. Like you shift with your feet on a
Every
motorcycle. Maybe.
every bit in this episode, everyone pedals it.
Well, that's true. Whether or not a throttle exists in a place we can't see it, you see very little of them just using it the way they describe. Which
Yeah,
is, I realize my problem with the bike. I don't have a problem with the concept, but they're all small kind of dirt bikes for like doing stunts and stuff,
yeah,
which is
like
not
BMX bikes.
great. Which works for when they have the chase scene later, but it's not great for a commuter bike. Because like
Yeah,
where I live and where you live, we both live in California. They have those like the city bikes and things like that, and they're more like 1 speed or 3 speed kind of beach bikes that anybody could sit on. Even if you got bad legs or
yeah.
you're 50, 70 years old, whatever. These are like cool, but like I don't see anybody other than young people using them. And if you're
Like
bigger,
actually sitting because then your knees are really high and you
right?
have to.
Yeah. So that I think that's what bothered me about the design. But overall, we've seen dumber concepts, so it didn't really bother me.
Yeah, the thing I chalked it up to is budget.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
They're
And
like, this bike will work. We have 4 of these ready.
yeah, and I think they knew they wanted to have a stunt scene later, so they just wanted to make them all the
Mhm.
same. And
Make
so
it
then
easy.
Betty and Ben come in, whose name I remember because I have them up on a screen next to me, and they're immediately like, "What cool bikes? We want one!" And I like his answer as someone who gets asked to do things all the time. He's like, "Well, how about you do it?" He's like, "I'll just give you the pieces." And they have established earlier that they are kind of tinkerers. They do have some scientific
Yeah.
knowledge. So okay, fine, whatever. And she gets all excited. Um, and then what is this? Oh, cool. So we cut now to Zoe riding the bike, and
Hmm.
we don't know where she's going. And where is she going? Well, she's going to a news broadcast. And here we see the beginning. This is the road begins, and we find out very quickly that this woman is her mom,
Yep.
which again is not something we see all the time in Power Rangers. But she's not like, "Hey, mom." She's like, "Blah! I got a thing on the ground."
Oh, this made me cringe so hard. I was
Oh,
like,
did it?
wait. So when she had him stop, I was waiting for the reason to
Right.
be much better than it actually was.
Which and
She's like, look, you almost crushed this lizard that I saw perfectly from very
boop.
far away because I have rabbit vision. It's like, oh, God.
Do rabbits have extra good vision? I don't even know.
I'm
I'd
assuming
imagine
so. They eat a
hearing.
lot. I was gonna say they eat a lot of carrots, and carrots are supposed to make your vision better.
That's true. Well, it didn't bother me as much as other things.
Oh, it bothered me significantly.
Here's two reasons it didn't bother me that much. Was because I'm assuming that she was aware of this project already, and she was
Yes.
already concerned. So it wasn't like she wrote up and like figured something out. Like she was like, "Oh no, it's happening. I got to stop it." The
No,
fact,
that I totally
but
agree
the fact
with.
that she saw the lizard from 100 miles away and it wasn't like about to be run over by a bulldozer, you're right. But what made it
Yes.
a little bit like I accepted that was just storytelling, but what sold it for me was this little cute guy. I like him. He's cute. And it was a real lizard. It wasn't, and they gave him a lot of screen time. And I know it sounds dumb, but it made me care about the animals more than if they just talked about it, or if she
Yeah.
pointed to one on a tree that she wasn't actually touching. Like they had a little cute lizard, and then she held it for like the rest of the scene, which really surprised me. So it's a little unbelievable, a little convenient, but in Power Rangers, there are things that bother me way more that we're gonna get to than that. I guess is the thing.
Yeah. Everything you said I agree with up until the part specifically about the lizard. I think she knew. I
Right.
think she had a plan. I think if I was the mayor,
Mm-hmm.
that's not what would have convinced me to stop building this road that clearly everyone is here to build. It's like,
Well,
oh, you almost touched the lizard. And then I love how he rolls with it, but in the way of like accommodating a small like child's needs of like, no, don't do that. Okay, you're right. I won't crush the
No,
lizard
no, but
thing.
he didn't stop building the road because of that. He paused for a moment and he's like, "Oh, good. It's good that you saved it and everything." But that
And then
didn't
it's like
yeah,
back
but
to it.
right, so that was fine. If he just immediately stopped, I would agree that would be dumb, but he didn't. He's like, "Good job saving the lizard. Now back to the thing." And
Mhm.
then actually wait a minute, let me get back to my click there. So that's him like, good. Wait, can I do that? I can't quite do it.
Hmm.
But what was more unbelievable to me
Hmm.
is that when she's like, by the way, I know you have a traffic problem. Let's use bikes instead. Come look at this bike. And if he knew that she was friends with his son and like kind of gave her special treatment, but she's just some random girl he met once, and he's like, okay, let me stop in the middle of
Yeah.
everything and check out this bike. It's it's very It's very classic Power Rangers. Worrying about the
Yes.
environment, talking to politicians, trying to make everything work better. I dig that part of it because they are supposed to be heroes in and out of the suit. So I like
Yes.
the good message and the civic-mindedness. But he's like, you got a good head for business. Her seeing the lizard from far away didn't bother me nearly as much as okay. I've gotten funds together. I've gotten votes, and we've passed laws, and we've hired these people and contracted this land. And there's a million things that go into building a road.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop doing that. Also, here's money for your bikes, which the mayor doesn't just have money like that. Like, he would need to, perform a referendum and get fundraising. And, like, he just changes. Like, because I know a little bit about politics and a little bit about the way
Yeah.
money works, it made it, like, as a kid, I think it would have been fine. As a kid, I'd be like, oh, okay, he's being nice. But that bothered me. Like, even if he wanted to do that, he couldn't do that. Like, there's no way.
So in the reverse effect, I liked the reasoning she gave of it saving money
hmm
better than like how you disliked that part is how
Right.
I dislike the lizard part and vice versa.
Gotcha. And neither one ruined the episode. And both of them, again, if I think of it as a kid, it wouldn't have bothered me at all. But just
Yeah.
as an adult, I was like, that's very unreal. But honestly, what made me be a little bit more okay with it is I had to remind myself that this is Power Ranger politics, and it's the same way the
Yeah.
mayor of this town is essentially the president, because
Yeah.
all the aliens come here, and it's all very small and very, everybody knows
Yeah.
everybody. So I got over it, but I was like, he can't do that. So she's happy with
The
her cute lizard, which you don't think is as cute as I do.
Yeah.
And
We'll agree to disagree on that lizard. But the thing I liked about it is he did say he gave funding. He didn't say how much, and he's
right,
like, "I give you a week." So I took that as I'm giving you just enough money based on whatever calculations you're going to tell me outside of the scene to give you enough money for some
right,
bikes as a test run. And worst case, they didn't totally get wasted. Somebody will use them. We'll donate them, tax write off, whatever.
right.
And like, if it doesn't work, I'm bulldozing this entire place. She's like, okay, I'll prove you wrong. And he's like, fine, you have a week. Go
Right.
for it.
I also understand why they did a week for the purposes of the episode. It had to have that urgency and stuff. But again, it's like a week is not enough time because she'd have
Oh,
to put
no,
out like a
not at all.
commercial, a flyer, so she'd have to
Oh,
let
yeah,
people
that's
know.
total Power Ranger logic.
Yeah, and it's like the next day they already have it set up and like, it's like all right, fine, that whatever.
I
So then
mean, we don't know how long it took, what's his name, to build the like prototype of the
Hey,
bike though.
Arzuki. Okay. No, that's true. But I'm not even. I'm assuming. Let's say he has 50 bikes ready to go. They still have to
Yeah.
build the charging station. They had to get somebody to do graphics. They have to like. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
again, real world logic interfering. I'm gonna let it go. But that bothered me more than the lizard thing.
Okay.
All right. So then her mom's like, boy, oh boy, something about Power Rangers, I think, and she's like. So then we cut to the
Oh
baddies.
yeah, she was saying, "Wow, like one day you're gonna run Grid Battle Force, and maybe you'll
Oh,
be a ranger." And
that's. I
she's
knew
like,
there was some.
oh my gosh, no, mom, that can't be me.
I
Why
knew.
do you have this thing on your wrist? Don't worry about it.
Beep beep beep. Nothing. All right, so we cut back to the negative zone here, which I know is not what it's called, and we see Scrozzle and Evox, and they're like, well, and basically Evox, and I see this being a common thing of like, I need more Morphex, get me out of here, and Scrozzle being like, yes, I need to do that. I feel like that's going to be a lot of conversation starters in this
Oh
dimension.
yeah,
And
I
then
want
here,
to know,
you
like
got,
he seems so lax by Evox, and then other times he's like completely and utterly scared.
I think,
Like as they jump into it, he's just like, yeah, whatever. You need more Morphex, not my problem.
I think he knows Evox is more powerful than him, and he's
Oh
frightened of
yeah.
that, and that's the only reason he follows him. And I
Mhm.
think that if he feels like, well, I'm on his side now, he feels a certain amount of safety. Like I'm one of his lieutenants, I'm one of his employees, whatever. So there's a certain amount of safety. Like I'm part of the group. I still think if he has a chance, he'll betray him. I also feel like the avatars will betray. Like I think they're doing a good job of like they're all kind of thrown together, but I don't feel like any of them are real loyal to anybody. I don't even know if Roxy's loyal to Blaze, to be honest.
I
Like
think they are.
I,
That I do agree with.
I'm not sure. Roxy interests me because, and maybe it's just the actress doing a good job, but she always has like a weird face. She's always doing a little bit of business in the background, and it makes me think like she's got something going on. Like Blaze is just like, I'm a bad guy. Roxy's got something going on. I don't know what, but
I could see it being where the avatars end up like possibly forming a relationship, and then they get booted back to life, and then the two of them start a relationship, and she's like, "I moved on from you, Blue Ranger. By the way, you're really boring even in episode 3."
oh
And
boy,
then
here
it
comes
goes
the Blue
on.
Ranger hate. Uh, Urzuki and Matt talking to each other. Oh, by the way, thanks for checking out the stream, Matt, for the first time. Appreciate that. Okay, so then she is like, check out this news report informing them of the Morphex in the bikes, which is a good point. That the mayor
Yes.
was like, I'm worried about monsters coming to get the Morphex, and she's like, what if we put it all over the city? And he's like, I'll give you a week. It's like that's interesting, but okay, you know. Uh, I do. Evox is growing on me. His design originally, the CGI, I wasn't sure how I felt about it, but I think the fact that he is this digital creature and they keep giving him glitches and stuff, the design has grown on me. I will say from the first episode.
I agree. I think since not necessarily the first episode, I actually kind of liked him in it, but beforehand, I was a lot more weary during the trailer. But I'm waiting for him to do something outside of just like try to bully Scrozzle.
Yes, I think that's gonna have to be like a mid-season thing. Like he's not gonna do anything big right away because
I think
otherwise,
he's going to do something semi-significant by episode 5. That's going to be
really,
my call shot. Yep.
you think he'll do some kind of like I'm gonna inject you with my power kind of situation, or that he's
He'll
gonna actually.
either give a mild power up to the avatars, or somehow he'll be able to go into a temporary body into the real world because of more effects or this
Mm.
or that or whatever. But he will do something outside of that realm, I think, by the end of
Episode
5.
5. Okay, I am gonna bet mid-season, so like episode 10, 12, 13, somewhere in there. So we'll,
Okay.
we'll see who's right, and whoever is
We'll
right,
see who has the over under.
yeah,
Yeah.
you get the points. All
All
right,
right.
so now here we are again. I guess this is the next day. They've already got signs built up. They've got flyers. Superpowered X Bike, a clean green alternative way to travel. And I just realized Morphex is green, so that actually works on 2
Hmm.
levels. Uh, this scene is super awkward, and it's
Oh,
supposed to
yeah.
be. But
Oh, I love how awkward it is because I used to do this
Mhm.
and it's so terrible.
Yeah,
Like,
nobody wants to look at them. Nobody wants their flyers, and I've been on both
yep,
sides of it as well. And they got it perfect. It was
yep,
so deliciously terrible. Like, and
yeah.
I could see being this woman too, because like I like to drink coffee, especially if I'm driving somewhere early in the morning. And her whole thing is like, there's no coffee holder, and I'm like, wow, I wouldn't have thought about that, because I'd be like on the side of like, let's use these super bikes, but like, oh, no coffee, like, like it's a little
Yeah.
thing, but I was like, I see your point, lady.
Yeah. And the other thing I liked about this scene is um, the way that everybody liked the tandem bike,
Hmm.
and also at the same time of breaking away from classic Power Ranger tropes of, hey, we're doing good. Everybody else wants to do good, right? Yeah.
Right.
It's like, oh no, like that's cool, but that your bike doesn't look cool. It doesn't have a cup holder, and I don't care. And it's like,
Right.
oh well. We only have 6 more days, guys. How are we going to do this? And they're like, look, those people created
Well,
their own bike,
I
and it has a cup holder.
I agree, and I love this guy. Like when I saw him, I'm like, who is this like cool kid from a video game commercial from 1999? And he's like, hey, check out these bikes, they're cool. And he's like, oops, I skipped. And he's like, that's not cool. I know, cool. And I'm like, wow, I was right. That is who this is.
You couldn't have written his dialogue better if you tried.
Yeah. And then we got Ben coming in, and like you said, it subverts the expectation where all of a sudden they're coming in on the two-seater. They got cup holders, right? Because
Yep.
they're the everyman. They're like, well, we need our cup holders. We're not, we're not superheroes.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's cool. And I loved it. I loved it. It was so ridiculous. Everything about it. This whole scene is one of my favorite like civilian parts of
Yeah.
this episode.
The other thing that I found funny, everybody loved the tandem bike. No one they talked to was in a pair.
True, but maybe they're like, this is how I could get a friend.
Sure.
Real quick in chat, Matt agrees with me about Roxy Avatar. Ha! And Matt is also saying, just in case people don't remember, oh, good point. There's no new episode of Beast Morphers this Saturday. It returns the following Saturday, so we got a week off.
What? What are we going to do next week? Find out next week.
So let's see. So, oh yeah, and everybody's thinking it's cool and taking pictures. This face, I talk about the face acting a lot. This face is awesome for a couple reasons. Aside from just a good face, he acts like he's gonna fall. And he's like, ah, and then he doesn't.
I love it. Just kidding.
Right, and I love that because if it was Bulk or whoever else, they would have fallen. And this again makes them be comedians, but not complete idiots. But
I know.
I kind of feel like he was doing Pee Wee Herman. Because he went, ah!
A little bit, yeah.
Like he recovered, and I don't know if he did it on purpose, but that's in a good way. That's what it reminded me of. And then, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, their theme song that's very reminiscent of Bulk and Skull.
The horn in there. Yeah, I think it's the horn that does it. Their characters, I don't think we've talked about this, but they're actually not the actors, but the characters are brother and sister, which I didn't know at all in the first episode, because I think at some point she's like, come on, little bro, or he's like big sis or something like that, but I took it more as like a friendship thing. But no, they actually are related and they're brother sister, which I don't think we've had before, other than like in Samurai we had Lauren show up, and we had like tangential siblings show up from time to time, like with Tommy and his brother. But well, maybe Jem and Gemma, they were brother and sister, right?
Yeah, they were Rangers though. So
yeah, but there haven't been a lot of siblings, certainly not in the comedy section. So I thought that was cool too, because if you ever wondered how they ended up together, why they're together, you don't have to. They're related. They're brother and sister, and that also explains why they're equally kind of goofy and
Yeah, I was trying to think too, and the only other people I can think of are in space.
Oh yeah,
there.
Right. But again, like on opposite sides of the war, basically.
Yeah. For those who haven't seen In Space, you should watch it.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil too much.
That's why I didn't spoil anything.
I realize,
I
assume most people watching this know a lot about Power Rangers, but even their seasons I haven't seen all the way through. So
Samurai Ox said he didn't get past, I think, Zeo. So
That's true, and he should, because So here comes Blaze, and he's gonna steal the Morph-X from the bikes, as we know. And it's funny because he's like, oh, they're all distracted by that awesome bike. He doesn't say that, but more props that I love.
Yeah.
And now, why was that bike pump there, not attached to anything? Who knows, except that he needed it.
I thought he brought it at first. Like, I did a double take where he's like, this trusty bike pump will make a great villain.
Well, look, this picture right here, you can see there's a bike pump in the shot right under his hand, right here.
Yeah.
It looks like it's already there, but we don't see how it got there. He does say, here comes the bike pump. Now, to your point last time when he made the monster out of tires and it didn't really look like tires, I feel like this one did better, but it had a similar problem, and I'm going to chalk it up to the Sentai. I like this monster a lot. He's cool. I think he's a really cool looking monster. He does not look like a bike pump. He looks like a doctor. He
looks
has
like a
tie.
Monster.
Yeah, he looks like, and you can see EKGs on his legs, so he looks like in Go Buster, it must have been some medical machinery that got turned into a monster. I think he's awesome looking, and I understand why they had to use the bike pump because it has a little needle on it. So
Yeah.
it's I could see why they did what they did, and I'm fine with it. It is just very obvious as an adult that this was not made out of a
Yeah.
bike pump. It was made out of medical equipment.
The
But
other thing
yeah,
too, like without the bike pump part of it, is oh, what do we need to steal all this Morphex? So let's use this bike pump to suck
right.
out all of this Morphex. Like, it doesn't even make logical sense.
It's a needle. I mean, I'm fine. I take it as because he could take the little canisters, but I take it as like, oh, this is a way to like compress it and absorb it, and like it's you could get a bunch stored in there instead of having a big pile of canisters. Maybe
Yeah.
wasn't necessary. I don't know, but I do like this monster design.
No,
So
that part was cool.
so he shows up. Yeah, he starts sucking it up, and then they go, wait a minute, what's going on? I'm pretty serious about this. Although Zoe kind of looks like, hey. And
I
that's,
love too when he's like, "Look at how easy it is! I already got one." And he's like, "Yeah, like keep going. We need to hurry up."
right.
The Rangers might up. There they are. Great.
Yeah, and then this is now they got to stop. Yeah, Blaze has
The
some
other
good bad guy faces too.
one thing about when they show up too, which I found funny because of my views on Blue, is they all show up and like red and yellow are all tough guy pose, and then he's like, "Yeah,"
Wait, in this
puts his
picture you're
arm.
talking about?
Yeah, the previous one
Oh.
where they're just like ready, and he's like, "Yeah, we're not fighting." Tough pose.
So he takes a shot, and there's the tin, and it hits those guys. This part I didn't love. He hits it, which it's unstable Morphex, fine. It causes an explosion, but it gets a
Yeah,
little too cartoony for my taste when they fly up into the sky, and it kind of reminded me some Victor and Monty stuff from Ninja Steel, where it was a little bit too
yeah,
much. But they land in water, which made it better because it's like, what the heck? They're
yeah.
gonna die. They landed in water. I guess they could survive. Still a little bit too comedic for my tastes,
Yeah,
but the water softened the blow, both literally
I
and
agree.
figuratively. Uh,
And Red making me love him once again, where he's like, "Yeah, you mess with our friends. They
yes,
are our friends, and now you're gonna fight."
and you know who that reminds me of?
TJ.
Yeah, yeah, one of my other favorite Reds.
Yep.
So
I
they're.
think it's your only favorite Red, if I'm being honest.
I do no, I do like Tyler from Dino Charge.
Okay,
He's
that's
he,
fine.
he's one of my favorite Reds. I tip and Casey from Jungle Fury. I like Reds. They're just
Okay.
I'm not the person who always likes the leader of the team. And even in this, I like him a lot, but I still do like Zoe a little better. So he is one of my
Fair.
favorite Reds now, but that doesn't mean he's one of my favorite all-time characters.
Speaking of Ranger colors and how
Yes.
you rank how they're your favorite, Watch Mojo today put out a top 10 yellow Power Rangers,
Hmm.
and it's worth a watch.
Okay. Let's see. Airzuki is saying Red from Lightspeed Rescue. Yeah, I do like Red from Lightspeed Rescue as well.
Yeah, Carter's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
he's very good. I mean, and that's the thing. I don't hate all the Reds. They're just not usually my favorite character.
You guys can quote me on this. Gazbot at one point said, "You know what? If I could get rid of one Ranger out of every season, it would be the Red Ranger, except for Turbo because I love TJ."
Yeah, that didn't. I do love TJ, but I did not say that. All
And
right.
it goes along with similar quotes of "Don't believe everything you see on the internet."
Right.
Abraham
Well,
Lincoln.
I will also say, when you dropped out last week, I might have given some facts about you. So,
Hey, overdrive all the way, right?
there you go. All right. So now it's morphing time, and we talked last week about how they hadn't done the stock morph yet. Arizuki says, "In this house, we stand TJ. We stand with TJ." I guess she's saying, but that's true.
All the above.
Yes. So here it starts off kind of like last week where they're on the street, and then it cuts to what will be our stock morph.
Oh, I loved it. I once I saw it, I was like, "Oh, they're finally doing the stock one. I'm gonna love it." And Gads is not gonna be a fan of it after 3 more weeks.
Yeah, I like it. I do, like with all of them though, they get old after a while, but that's fine.
Yeah.
But lights up. We still get the tornado, which again, I didn't love the tornado until I saw the fiery energy heads. So I dig that.
Mm,
I'm glad that they kept that effect. I was worried that that might get lost in the translation.
yeah.
And then there's the suits, and they still have the what do you call? I guess sunglasses for that visor, moment where they fly on, which is kind of cool too, because it gives you again that connection of it's really them in the suits. For whatever reason, it just makes it better. Oh, and they got digital stuff behind them too, which I didn't even notice, like binary code or whatever it's supposed to be for the morphing grid. Grid 4. Uh-oh. Did we lose the big dog? We may have lost the big dog. I don't see him talking. He might need to come back. Okay, well, whatever. I could talk plenty. Oh, did we just lose everything? Uh-oh. Okay, I'm informed that you can still hear me, but my computer just pooped itself. So I'm going to see if I could reopen Streamlabs. Oh, it's still there. Okay, sorry about that. I don't know what just happened. Let me check chat. So
Nope.
oh wait, Bigdawg's coming back. Maybe not. Well, let me check chat while we wait to see if the Bigdawg can escape the trap that was set for him by the avatars. Arizuki is criticizing me because she said in this house we stand TJ, and apparently that's a pop culture thing, like Stan Lee maybe. I'm not familiar with it. I like TJ. That's enough for me. And Matt Kendall Claire is saying, yes, Carter is a good choice. Arizuki, I like TJ, Andros, Carter, Wes, Scott, Lauren. And even though we didn't see her much, of course, Lauren, even though we saw her, and of course Tyler. Yeah, I agree with most of those. I'm not a huge Andros fan. The rest of those I pretty much agree
I
with.
like Andros, I think, more than you do.
You definitely like Andros. Well, part of my problem with Andros isn't fair. It's because I like TJ so much. It bothered me that Andros became the leader. And I understand why, because he had the space experience and all that stuff. But I was kind of like, oh, man, TJ doesn't get to be the leader anymore. I think oh, yeah, Evox is causing some stream issues. Yeah, Evox is a problem. Bigdawg, I heard you for a second. I don't see you. Can you hear me? Nope, he's gone again. Oh, there he is. Welcome back. Now I can't hear you. Can't hear you. Can't hear you, sir.
How about now?
Yes, we can see and hear you. Awesome.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
All right, let's go back to the episode. We were talking about Reds. People like, okay, so I took this screenshot of them starting to go into battle, but I think it was them coming out of the morph, and I just thought it was a funny pose where they're all like, "Wah!" All right, so let's see. Now the battle.
I don't know if you've heard me say it before, by the way, but I think I like Andros a little bit more.
Yes, I did hear you say that, and Andros is one of the most popular Reds. I understand that, but just again, not one of my favorites.
Fair.
Let's see. I don't blame you, Arizuki, for those choices. My favorite. Oh, Arizuki was saying her favorite Reds are Carter, Tyler, and Casey. Those are all good ones as well. Okay,
Fair.
So the battle starts. And what we see is Zoe ends up taking on Blaze, while the other two are going after, I think Needler was the name of the enemy. And this is the first time we've seen them demorph because of damage, right? I don't think that happened yet in this series. Uh-oh, Bigdawg, you there?
Can you say that one more time? Sorry, it had cut out.
I was saying Needler hits them pretty good, and they demorph because of damage. And I think that's the first time we've seen that.
Yeah, so that's the first time it happened, and I have a mixed feeling about when they do this in the series this early, because on the one hand, I like that it shows that they're not always going to be omnipotent every time. And on the other hand, in terms of power scaling, it makes me a little nervous in how powerful things are going to get and how many outs they'll need to find as the series goes on. Like, I know a lot of people had this problem with Megaforce where every week it seemed like they got a new power up and the last one was relevant. So I get a little bit weary in these kind of situations.
You feel like that shouldn't have been a depowering for a few more episodes.
I feel like if he hit them like 3 more times the same way, then they get depowered and they're like, wow, this really isn't working. We need to do something. Not like a one shot. It's like, oh, shoot, I don't know what's going on.
I do agree. I wonder if it's supposed to be that he's power. Needletron was the Robotron's name. Thank you, Matt. I wonder if Needletron was supposed to be powered up because of all the Morphex in him, so he's super powerful. Except that I feel like a lot of the Robotrons we're going to see are going to be powered up by Morphex. So I liked it, but I see what you're saying. You're worried about the escalation. But what I did like, this is a very Zoe heavy episode, and so now it's really just her. And of course we bring more rabbit jumping. Again, loving it when they're using the powers, that they've established from their DNA. And then I like that they brought back as much as this focus on the bikes. Remember that new weapon we saw in the beginning? And she hits her thing and we get the teleport. I love the teleport. And she immediately is like, let's try this. And Blaze is all like, uh-oh, maybe it's time for me to leave. I don't remember what he said, but essentially he's like, we're about to lose the fight.
Yeah, pretty much the same thing, yeah.
And so she hooks it in, and this is also great, like, toy commercial, because, like, I didn't want these, but I'm like, that does look kind of cool. I wouldn't.
I have the Japanese version. It's really cool.
Do you have both pieces? Nice. You don't have the Morpher, do you?
No.
Okay. So then we put it together, and then this is what I'm saying. It's a different effect than we saw before when he used just the camera gun, and it is a one-shot kill. So it's even though, like, we showed how powerful he is. Well, okay, this cannon's very powerful, obviously, because she got the one-shot kill. And then a piece of it flies off, and then Blaze leaves with that. So she runs over to see if her buddies are okay. And They're very tired.
Thankfully, there wasn't a dog there. Otherwise, they really would have lost.
I was surprised that the weaknesses we saw last episode didn't come into play. Like I thought, yeah, I'm jumping ahead, but I thought the gorilla stuff might come
Yeah.
into play or whatever. I'm fine that it didn't.
I'm so happy it didn't.
And
They
then,
only address it in one line, and the
yes,
way they did was so great.
yes, no, this is a weird episode for me on a whole because it's not my favorite episode of the series yet. Like I think I
Mhm.
preferred the other two more as a whole. But there are
Yeah,
parts in this one that I like better than the other, and mostly Zoe parts, to be honest.
agreed.
So it's on a whole, it is not as good as the other episodes, but it has really high highs. So yeah, I don't know. So now that she rightfully says, like, boy, no one's gonna want to use them now. It's like, yeah, you're right, because they're gonna get attacked by using them.
Yeah.
Now this part, we go back to the other dimension. This kind of was weird because he's pouring the more effects he has, and Scrozzle's like, oh, that's not enough to teleport a rat or something like that. And it's like,
Yeah.
that's a lot. That
That
seems
looks like a lot. It seems like the top line
yeah,
is you're like, yeah, we can do what we need to do
it
now.
seems like more than they used last time for the giant Robotron. So like that's a nitpick, but it bothered me. I feel like they should have had
No,
it
I
way at the
agreed with
bottom.
you on it.
And then this is interesting. Going back to the infighting, he's insulting him, and Blaze looks like he's about to punch him out. And then Roxy gets in the middle. Now, again, this is where I talk about Roxy. Like, is she just trying to stop a fight, or does she have another plan? Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm reading it into it, but she's got something. That's why I feel like she has her own agenda. She has some.
Mhm.
I want to see her like halfway through the season be like, by the way, here's my master plan. Maybe
Yeah.
not, but she just always seems like she's thinking about stuff.
Yeah, she seems like she has sneaky undertones.
Yes. So we cut back, and of course she's like, "Hey, I know it's almost over, and there was that huge fight, but can you please give us more time?" And he's like, "Hey, you got the bikes." No, which I think is fair. Like it's like a deal's a deal.
Yeah.
And then we cut back to this. This less cute than the lizard, and this also made me think like this lets us know that we're not in America necessarily. If like a local
Yeah.
park area has this crazy millipede thing.
Yeah.
And then we had a cute hedgehog, which was better.
I
Uh,
am a fan of the hedgehog as well.
and again, this scene once again reminded me of classic old school Rangers, where it's like, hey, everybody, let's pitch in, and maybe we can't stop the road, but we'll save some of these animals. And we got Jax there. Hey, I'm doing my part too, guys. I'm a rabbit here.
Uncanny. I can't tell the difference.
So that was a good way to get him in. And then we have Silva come over, and an unexpected Silva moment, because we feel like this is the Zoe
Mhm.
episode. But Silva's
Yep.
like, hey guys, by the way, I got a super sad backstory where like I have parents, and she's like, you don't have parents, and there's the cute lizard again. And
Yep.
she's like, you don't have parents, you don't have a family, and I expected it to be like, no, I'm an orphan, I was raised in the thing, which is kind of the sad story you expect. But then he's like,
I was
no,
created in a lab.
I have parents. They're just like in another country, and they don't care enough to either one of them come see me. So it's the equivalent of not having a family. It's like, wow, that's worse, kind of, isn't it?
It's
Like,
because his dad and his mom are on Aquatar with the Equation Rangers.
is that
It's
the fan
silly.
theory you're going with?
That's my headcanon.
I like it.
but
That
we'll
makes it
figure out.
that makes it better because the idea that he has again, not like my mom or my dad is far away, but both of them, like that's sad. I like this shot
We'll see how it
too.
goes.
They're talking, and you see Cruz and is it Smash or Crash? Smash. We'll say Smash. You see Smash in the background, and Cruz is clearly moving things, and then Smash is just like tree. It's like, what are you doing? I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, the bots are. I don't want to say they're growing on me because I kind of liked them from the get go, but
Mhm.
I do like, similar to like reflecting on what we said about the trailer, what we were hoping for the season, what we thought would happen. I like how the bots are involved at most steps of like the conflict resolution, whether it
Yes.
be helping in the park or helping them with their Zords or things like that, but also touching on a previous note of how much FaceTime the avatars are getting, which you thought they weren't going to at
Right.
first because of the situation, and now it seems like
Yes.
nope, they're the driving force of the villains right now.
Agreed. And I like suit actors, I like monsters, but I do like some of the villains to have human faces somewhat. So I like that too. So yeah, more good stuff. And I wasn't sure how I'd feel about the robot companions. What do they call them? Beast bots? I forgot the title.
These bots, yep.
The Beast bots. I liked the designs, and I like robots, but I was like, are they going to be dumb? And like so far, I've been liking them. So
Yeah.
So then they resolve their thing, and she gets a call, and he's like, "I'll finish up with the bots. Don't worry about it." And they have to. I
Hmm.
like this too. The updated, because like just a communicator isn't that big a deal anymore with like cell phones and Apple watches and stuff.
Hmm.
But this is a little bit further than what we would have. So I like that they're just pushing the technology a little bit. And
Yep.
then we cut to another Morph spike, and it looks like the Needler, but no, it's oops, I skipped ahead. But it's Blaze using the Needler. So again, why does he need that? Who knows? He does because reasons.
Sure.
And then, but immediately he gets it blasted out of his hand, and we get this crazy explosion, which I don't know why, but it bothered me. I think because
Yeah.
like you see the cool sparks in the background. I don't know. It just seemed out of place for some reason. You know what it reminded me
Well.
of? You ever watch Aqua Teen Hunger Force?
Yeah.
And they would just throw anything like, I don't want this cup, and it would boom. That's kind of what it reminded me of, just like a random explosion for no reason. But whatever, it's fine.
Yeah.
Uh, this I thought was weird that they showed up morphed. Now they didn't have the whole Zordon saying "don't escalate," but usually they're like,
Yeah.
"What are we doing?" And they fight the Tronics, and then somebody morphs in it. Here we have just Blaze. He's in his humanoid form, and all three of
Mhm.
them have their weapons out and they're morphed. It just seemed odd. It seemed out of place to me.
The way I saw it, and this could be chalked up more to the Grid Battle Force side, is in the current scene and the upcoming scenes. I got a lot of deja vu of Time Force
Mm,
and Lightspeed Rescue, and a little bit Wild Force, but mainly those two. They're very more like squad based,
yes.
and they're very cohesive in what they do and very mission oriented a little bit more than previous seasons of we're just a team and friendship is power.
Right.
So going in with what they knew, they have the bikes that Blaze is trying to steal the Morphex from. They had the resolution with the Needletron, and then now they're investigating something, and it's kind of like, okay, there's probably going to be danger. If there's not, we have nothing to worry about. But if something goes down, we don't have time to morph and get our weapons and things like that. Like, we just need to go in ready and see what happens, which I kind of appreciated from that. And we for the first time, got to see something happen not during the daytime, which I also made me
I
harken back
I
to
was
the
gonna get
previous
into
season.
that later. Yeah, I agree. So okay,
Mhm.
that's a great excuse apology for something that still makes no sense. But no, no, that's good reasoning. Matt is saying that they also like the beast bots and they were worried, but do like how it works. So I guess that's a common
Mhm.
feeling. And here
Yeah.
we go, Blake. And once again, I love the little glitches to remind us that this is not a human; it's some sort of virus that's
Mhm.
come to life. Jumps on the bike, and also another reason why they might be morphed, and why they're making a point of showing his glitches, is because the whole scene now. Why did they need to get on bikes to chase him? Because it's cool, I guess is the only real
Yep.
reason. But
BMX time.
right, it occurs to me that the actors playing the Rangers might not have these BMX skills. So we get Blaze with the glitches, so you don't see his face. You get them with the helmets. But Chris Cantata Force made a post recently that made a good
Mhm.
point about having worn helmets like that, which I have too. You can't see anything; they fog up, and they're wearing them riding these bikes. Now they're probably stunt helmets, which are a little more breathable, but that's still like that's not like a dirt bike helmet. That's like you're driving through this. So that's
Yeah.
even more impressive. And this whole scene, like I said, I wasn't sure I was gonna feel like I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. It was just I don't know. I feel like maybe because going back to what we were saying before, the bikes are supposed to be these super bikes, but it
Yeah.
felt for the most part until the very end like regular bikes.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I thought it should be more like there should be something like
Yeah.
energy Tron trails or something cool like that maybe.
I will say I'm biased. This is one of the parts I kind of skimmed through
Hmm.
due to time, but
Right.
also just looking at it, I felt similarly of like, I guess it makes sense if I rationalize why it does. If not, it feels a little out of place.
It felt a little out of place to me, and clearly they thought it'd be cool to do some like BMX tricks, and the people riding them did a good job. It wasn't like it was shot
Yeah.
badly or it looked stupid, but
Yeah.
I just felt like if they could have done that on regular bikes for the most part, and I like even if they did like when they do like the kick up with the wheel, have it go like pshoo, and shoots, it's just something to make it more
Yeah.
rangery. And so
Yeah.
then Zoe's mom is doing traffic, but she's like, wait, look at the Rangers. I like also here. I was looking at Blaze's face. Can't tell if it's glitched or if that was a different actor or if it's just a blurry still. Um, what I like here is Blaze gets on his comm and he's like, Roxy, I'm coming to you. And I like that they're showing teamwork between them and planning. It's not just like bumbling
Yep.
around attacking stuff.
Yep.
And then they're still chasing. And then this is the part where they do show that they have crazy superpowers. But again, I wish he kind of like charged up and blasted up, or like it just seems like because they have Morph-X, they could defy physics, and he says sort of does this crazy backflip. I do like the expression of that woman staring at him, though. That's pretty good, where she's like, oh. And then these guys too do kind of like a straight up jump. Oh, I didn't even notice the kid on the regular bike. That's a good foreshadowing of like, man, I gotta get a Morph-X bike. Although I wonder if normal people riding Morph-X bikes can do this stuff. That would be crazy. Like they don't have to be Power Rangers. Just like, oh, we could just kind of half fly with these, maybe.
I mean, Morph-X seems like an amplifier of just kind of baseline stats of anything, whether it be a bike, whether it's a person, stuff like that. Like everybody else was normal, then they got powers with Morph-X. It's not unreasonable to think similar things can happen with that. And then to the point of what you were saying with Blaze specifically, we talked about this on a previous episode where I think the villains are just so short term in what they're doing that that's why we don't have these big things and they can kind of work around it, where they're just like kind of get rich quick schemes, but evil wise. Yes. And that's why I think we haven't seen something happen. And maybe down the line, they kind of put their heads together and go, wait, maybe we actually like take a couple episodes, store some, and then boom, Evox is a giant monster that you can't beat.
Okay, well, so the good news is we're coming out of this scene and getting to a scene I like a lot. So they chase him into this warehouse where he had warned Roxy, and she immediately opens fire on him, knocks them off their bikes. And you see the Tronics, and then they're like, oh, by the way, while you were fighting me, we were stealing it under your nose. Like, competent bad guys. You know, they make mistakes, but it's like they had a plan, you know, and I like that. It makes them more of a threat. It makes the heroes more impressive when they are able to defeat them. And then here's her with her face again. And they're about to attack, and she's like, by the way, this will explode if you start shooting. Which, again, is a good excuse for them not to use their big cannon gun that they just had. So, like, okay, I guess we got to fight. And here we got... Oh, this was weird. This is a little side thing. He ran... Oh, so we did learn that Morph-X, we were wondering if they would run out. Or if the avatars had, like, sort of an unlimited supply. The avatars do run out. We do know that now. So he goes to fill up, and I thought this was a weird way to fill it up. Like, you got to put it in a tray, and then it funnels down. Like, all right, whatever. I praised the other props so much, like the computer prop. This one I don't like as much. It just seemed unnecessarily complicated to me.
I think maybe there's something you have to do where... I guess the easiest way you can equate it is when your car's empty. When your car's not empty, it's really easy to put gas in it. When it is empty, it's a little more difficult because you're not near gas. So maybe similar to this, because he ran empty, he had to do this weird kind of convoluted process.
And again, it's a nitpick. It's definitely I wouldn't have mentioned it except that I've talked about how much I like the props in the show, and this was one that I didn't like. So I felt like, well, I should mention there is one I don't like. Okay, and so then here comes Red blazing in with a super speed. Again, loving that they use their special powers. I feel like in so many seasons they're like, by the way, I'm great at this, and then we never see it again. So I'm really glad they're sticking with that. So they can't shoot, so he charges in, follow my lead, and then she jumps in, of course, and then even Blue, who I know you don't like, I missed the shot, but his arm charges up as with like a gorilla punch. That's a cool angle.
Yes.
So I like that. And then similarly, Roxy uses that tentacle power she had in the very first episode. So again, why not? Calling it back. You know, might not win the fight, but, you know, use what you got. So this whole fight is good. It's dark in here. Like we were saying before, it's not bright as day. Like this goes back again. Like I didn't love the bike scene, but I love this warehouse fight scene. So,
yeah, it was really good. I like kind of your point, as you were saying, of like reestablishing the status quo of like, they still have these powers. She can still do this. These are kind of the concrete rules about Morph-X. Like, just all these things to kind of let us know building forward, like, don't forget about this. This will be relevant. Or even kind of red herring some things. I'm sure some stuff that we think will be more important here won't be, and vice versa. So it definitely kind of keeps us guessing and keeps us invested in it.
Absolutely. So she's fighting, and she tells Blaze, like, take what you can and get out of here. I'll bring the rest later. Not sure exactly why, but fine, you know.
Whatever.
She transforms. I think I got a better shot of her. Yeah, great pose. Love this costume. Love both the costumes we said before. Somebody pointed out, maybe you can see it better in this first one, these little things hanging on here, I think those are rabbit ears. I saw somebody else mention it. Yeah, because she's corrupted, but she still had the rabbit DNA. So it's like, I don't know, just something worth noting. Like, but yeah, her suit's so cool. So again, going back to our earlier toy conversation, if I have to get her at 5.5 inches and she doesn't match, well, that's what I got to do, because I got to have a figure of her. I mean,
agreed.
Okay, so then we see Blaze teleporting back in. Now this again. he's like, now we've got enough. It looks like it's the same level. He put 2 more drips in. That's not enough to teleport anything. Drip. Okay, we've got enough for a giant one now. It's a little thing, but it really bums me out. And I
Yeah,
feel
I
like
know.
they probably filmed it like on the same day on the same set and just were like, okay, now add more, as opposed to like emptying it or refilling it.
Yeah. How many more glow sticks do we need to crack? Okay.
Right. Yeah. It just, I don't know. It was a little thing, but because they made it a plot point. Like, if they didn't say anything about it, I wouldn't have noticed it.
Yeah.
And then we get this shot again, which we've seen before, but I love it, where it just shows the scale of how big these things are. And he calls this a Betatronic, but again, he infuses it with Needletron's essence, DNA, whatever you want to call it, to make it its own thing.
Yeah.
And the whole way they deal with this hangar and stuff, I know I've said it before, but I love it. And so I guess he goes up here, then they transform it, then they send it to our world. So there's like the transformation. And again, he lands. It's kind of overcast. He splashes down the water. Very Godzilla, very Ultraman. And I say that in the way that often those focus on these sort of fights, so they do it a little bit better because they don't have to worry about everything else. Yeah, the giant suit battle stuff in this one, very, very good compared to some other seasons, I think.
Yeah. I think the scale is something that they keep harkening back to, of like, these are big deals.
Yeah.
Don't just think it's another monster of the week. Like, even as you were saying before last week, we still haven't seen Megazord yet.
Right. Yeah. I love it.
Which is great. Like, building that up, I really think gives you the payoff. Whereas, as we mentioned in the past, if you keep giving us stuff week after week,
it becomes
then
meaningless.
We're just going to expect too much. Yeah.
Yeah. So she calls in the team, hey, I know you're fighting Roxy over there, but we got a bigger problem. And again, the darkness, like it looks like it got darker in the warehouse too. Like he showed up and brought like a cloud of smog with him or something. So he takes the call, and then he's dispatched to deal with it. Again, good leadership, delegating. He's in the middle of a fight. Hey, you're not fighting. You go handle it. So good, cool. He doesn't have to be the hero leader all the time. And then we see his truck once again. I think it's called Roller Zord. It has a real generic name. That's the only thing I don't like, but whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it is more of like a paramilitary thing, so they're not going to call it like Fist Puncher Gorilla Man. Well, they did call it the Gorilla Smash. I don't know. I just think Roller Zord doesn't sound that impressive, but it is.
I mean, in the eras we talked about, all those Zords either, I said Zords. Okay, I thought I said Zoids at first. Didn't have specific names, or were so generic you don't remember them.
You're right. That's a good point. It's like Dragon Zord, Tiger Zord, and
like in Time Force, there was Q-Rex, Time Shadow. I dare you to name me the main 5.
Time Sword.
Time 4.
Time Zord and Time Megazord. Those are the ones. And so the red car comes out of a skyscraper. This one comes out of shipping crates. And then kind of like last time, he's like, this makes a little more sense, because when the red racer turned into the Megazord mode, the battle mode, it was sort of like, oh, he's never even used it before, and now he's asking him. This I liked better because he has used the truck, and the gorilla's like, do you want to go gorilla mode, or whatever he says, and he's like, yes. And so, boom.
Why would I not?
Yeah, it's a little difficult with this shot because he turns into gorilla mode, but it's pretty awesome. I like that he has these up top. They kind of make me think of like speakers. I know it's his wheels, but I feel like he's going about like, hey, I'm gorilla.
Breakdancing Gorilla Zord, aka Wheeler Zord.
Wheeler Zord. Okay. Thank you very much,
Matt, for the clarification.
Yeah, I'm also not great with names. As I get better as the season goes on, but I definitely takes me a while to remember him. But yeah, Wheeler Zord, especially because he turns into a gorilla. I feel like they could have done something like truck gorilla.
Speaking of things that Gaz likes with robots, the next bit with the missiles.
I don't love this. The banana missiles I'm fine with. It's a little silly, but okay. They shoot out. That's cool. They hit him. I love this. Again, it's dark, smoky, and then I couldn't get a good shot of it. But the metal. Okay, let's break this down. He shoots missiles. You can see the missile banks. Okay, they're yellow banana missiles. There's DNA and all that stuff, so I guess it's themed. And they sort of shoot out of the casing, and we've seen rockets that do that in real life. Fine, it happens to look like a banana. I'm kind of okay with all this. But the fact that the banana peel, which is metal, is slippery, and somehow the monster slips on it and falls on a metal banana peel, not my favorite. Not my favorite.
The thing I thought of when I watched it is if the obviously every time they do these fights, the city isn't evacuated or anything. They just kind of deal with it. You just see people down below looking.
Right.
The feels coming down. Ah!
Yeah.
Just raining down. Like, what are you doing? Just whoop, big old banana peel.
That is a big like just accepting that somehow people aren't getting hit and. But
Yep.
again, even that I could live with more than the robot slipping on the banana peel.
Yeah.
Not my favorite. Not my favorite. But the fight in general I like. Again, the way they're shooting it, the lighting and everything, it's all really like the smoke, like everything looks ominous and badass, you know. It's
Yep.
not I hate to keep comparing it to Godzilla or Ultraman because it's not like I prefer those to Power Rangers. I like all of them. But
Yes.
that's what it makes me think of. The gravitas. The fights in Power Rangers a lot of times they're a little bit lighter, which, you know, kids and whatever, but when they're the big monsters, sometimes it still feels like they're just punching them when they're small, you know. This makes me feel like, oh, this is the next level and it's more serious and it's just cooler, for lack of a better term, you know. Like look at the shot.
The one thing keeping with the gravitas of it, I feel like in most of these cases, they haven't had a proper chance to make the Megazord.
Right.
Like,
yes.
Everybody's been occupied where it's like, I'm doing my best here. I don't really know. And the only real time that didn't happen is with the dog billboard. Or I feel like if they really wanted to, they could have built it, but I was fine with them not.
Theoretically, they don't know that's a possibility yet, too. I mean,
Yeah,
the scientists might, but, you know, it's not like the Rangers even, you know, they're getting introduced to things after the fact. Like the command center might know, but but I also like this, too, which you don't see as much because usually they're all in the Zords, is that we get the Zord fight and we're cutting back to the battle. So it makes it dynamic to cut back and forth. And again, good choreography for the fight. And then we cut back to another awesome shot of Needletron. Yeah, it just all looks so good. Just putting it at night made such a difference, which is weird. And not that they all have to be at night. I mean, daytime shots can be cool too, but it's just so, I don't know, refreshing for lack of a better term.
Yeah, we haven't seen it in years. Yeah. Literal years, I think it's been since we had like legitimate night fights.
Yeah.
I mean, I know there were some in Samurai, but other than that, I can't really think of any.
Yeah, or space or anything, just anything other than bright daylight, you know.
Well, I'm just thinking of like semi-recently. Like,
no, I think you're right. They definitely.
Yeah.
Nothing comes to mind.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, all good things must come to an end, and he hits him with the needler, and he starts sucking out his energy. Which I didn't understand why he couldn't like do one of these or like kind of run away. But I guess maybe it like because he had all that power, but I guess it was like kind of froze him and like I can't.
Yeah,
do
that's
anything.
how I saw it too. Is it was stopping him from doing anything because it was taking energy so quick.
Yeah, that's kind of how I took it. And so then they get the call, and he's like, okay, well now I gotta go. Zoe, you got this, right? And she's like, yep. My shots here are not great, but basically, Roxy takes a shot and misses, and I love this pose. She's like, hey, you missed. And then she's like, oh, did I? Oh, wait, hold on a second. I think I might have. Oh, no, okay. So she shoots, then she's like, hey, you missed again, or whatever. And she hits the Morph X, so she's like, did I? And we saw before that could explode in a way that will make you comically fly into the air. So she doesn't want to comically fly into the air, so she's like throws it back, and then she's like, hey, now you missed. And she's like, did I? No, it's next to the barrel. So I do like that we paid off that we've established that if you shoot the Morph X, it explodes. We've established that this barrel will explode if you shoot it. So now we've combined it, and now we have something that's going to explode next to something that'll explode bigger. And it's Zoe winning the fight using brains over brawn, even though she was fighting and, you know. So we get a huge explosion, and she's like, oh, you're a good fighter. I begrudgingly respect you, and takes off. And then the moment we were talking about before, where she collapses. And I love this, too, because it's not like, oh, this was so easy. It was like, this was a really hard fight. I'm exhausted. That's appropriate. Yep. That makes me root for her more than if she was like, ha, ha, no problem, you know?
Yep.
And then, like you said, do I have it shot here? Yeah. And then the line she says is?
Shoot, what's the Beastbot's name?
Jax.
Jax looks like I'm going to need a carrot or something.
Yeah, I could really use a carrot. And as much as I did not like that in the previous episode, I loved it here. I loved it.
Agreed.
I was like, yeah, Zoe, you earned a carrot. And now, because it became kind of like, it wasn't literally like, I can't fight without a carrot. It's like, I've been fighting. I need a power up. I'm a rabbit. Hey, you really use a carrot. Like,
yep.
Perfect. I loved it. It was
the one small nitpick I had for this scene was I hate, and this isn't just in Power Rangers, this is in other stuff. If an explosion is big enough for the person creating the explosion to be launched back, the person close to it should just be done.
Yeah, but she's an evil avatar in her Power Ranger mode.
Yeah, but she should have at least depowered at
Well,
that
she was
point.
glitching. We don't know if they depower the same way. You're
They
right. Maybe.
always glitch, though.
Excuse me. I took it as she was glitching more. You're right that maybe she should have depowered. I agree with that. But she definitely could have survived because she's not even human, you know.
True.
It's a nitpick, but I'll grant you it's not an unfair
That's
one.
why I was going to say, it didn't take me away from the episode,
Right.
but it's one of those, I'm like, okay, if this is really a terrible explosion, make it a terrible explosion.
Right. That aside, I love that whole warehouse fight.
Oh, yeah.
And it also was good, too, because they wanted to showcase Zoe as, like, you know, her moment or whatever, but they didn't have it like the other two get tied up, or Zoe, you got, like, it was so natural. Like, they're all fighting, then one has to go fight, and they get in trouble, so the other has to go fight, so it ends up just being Zoe. This show in general does not feel as forced as many previous seasons. Where, like, why is this happening? Because writer said so. Why is this happening?
Yep.
Because it has
There's
to
a
happen.
simple explanation for that.
Yeah. So it definitely feels a lot better. Let me check chat real quick. Matt says something. That was such a good moment between Zoe and the Roxy Avatar monster form. The whole you missed. No, I didn't. Yeah, I absolutely agree. It was very fun.
Yep.
Okay, so then we get back to the fight here, and he's in trouble. But on the way, I like this shot too. I feel like maybe we've seen this before, but one Ranger talking to another on like a video screen in the Zord, that's not that common, and I kind of dug it.
I definitely got deja vu when I saw it. I want to say like Turbo era.
Turbo maybe that yeah. Again, it's not that I've never seen it before, but
Yeah.
it was just cool. It was like a little thing, but I liked
It's
it.
uncommon. Well, because back to what we were saying before, we're used to the first thing that comes to mind is Dino Charge, where it's like we're in a giant room together, we're all piloting forward, all right.
Yeah.
Whereas this is like we individually do things, and at some point we combine.
Right, and that's a good point about Dino Charge because I like Dino Charge, but the cockpit was not great. It was not great.
It was. I didn't hate it. I definitely liked the American spin they did on it way more than what Ninja Steel did with the chainsaw sword, which I despise every fiber of my being. I like the cool armor. Yeah. I hate the chainsaw sword.
I like it because I'm a fan of ridiculous things, so I like that it exists. I don't think it was good in the show, but I like that they made a toy of it and it's a thing that exists in the world.
I think if they were to make a goofy decision, they should have stuck with the Burger Morpher and not done the chainsaw sword.
Or do both. Let's not talk about Ninja Steel. All right, so here comes the Red, and he has this, I guess it's the sword, but it comes out like a blade on the side, which I thought was cool. I know it's kind of hard to see what's going on here, but I thought it was cool that he came in with that attack as like, you know, the car attacking with a blade. And then he calls the, what does this call it? It's the cheetah gun. There's a special name for it, which I don't remember.
Cheetah Mega Super Blaster?
I don't think it was that. And I do like it. Again, it's still a little weird that he uses a gun to power his sword. Whatever, yeah, I'll live with it. So he comes in and basically saves the day real fast, which I'm fine with because, you know, we've established that this monster was easily beatable with one shot earlier. He just got the drop on the Wheeler Zord. This is a cool shot, just standing over the fire, like, yes, you. But again, this also established that the Gorilla Zord and the Red Zord in their, you know, robot modes are as big as the grown-up Tronics, or they're not Tronics, the you know what I mean, the Robotrons.
Betatronics, I think.
No, well, no, the Tronics are like the putties. And yeah, Robotrons, I think, are what you call these. And then
I thought earlier
Gigatron,
you said Betatron.
Well, it was a beta model. There's so many names for the different robots, but it was a beta model of it. Regardless, I was talking about, my point was the scale. That if and when they become the Megazord, they will likely be bigger than these average enemies. So it makes sense that if they find an enemy that actually is bigger, they'll have to get bigger. Whereas right now, it does seem like each individual Zord theoretically could win the fight on their own.
Mm-hmm. You know what it reminds me of, speaking of kaijus?
Sorry, Cheetah Beast Blaster. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Matt. The first Pacific Rim movie with the different levels of kaiju.
Yes.
That's what this reminds me of.
Yeah, I could see that. Dolly Girl, that looks cool, yeah. Matt
Gigadrones are the giant robots, just so you know. Thank you very much. Thank you. Matt is coming in clutch with these.
Don't be offended if next week I forget again. It takes me a while. Okay, so... Oh, and he says the line there too. Like virus, it's like enemy extinct. They're gonna be their version. It's like virus cleaned or virus eliminated. He says some tagline, which when he said it, I'm like, oh, we're gonna hear that again.
I hope
Virus.
not.
I don't mind it once in a while. Here's the thing.
I don't love the catchphrases.
Here's the thing. I don't mind catchphrases. I don't mind things being repeated because it does build a sense of like, oh, these are our buddies and this is the world we live in, and the branding. If the show is goofy and it's undeserved victories and I'm not buying into the world, that stuff really drives me nuts because it feels like they're polishing a turd, as they say. They're like throwing all kinds of stuff on top just to get you into it. But if I like the characters and it was a cool fight and I'm digging it, and then he's like, yeah, we virus exterminated. I'm like, yeah, all right, you earned it. You could have it. I'm fine with that. So that sort of stuff doesn't, and also every other line in the show isn't a joke and isn't a one-liner. So if once in a while they throw one out, that's fine, which they do. And then we cut back to here. And she's like, oh, man, they're still building the road. I don't know what I'm going to do. I guess, yeah, she's talking to her mom, which I don't know why her mom's there because she's a reporter. I guess she's doing another story. And then
community service piece.
Yeah, there you go. But she's like, I got these blueprints to make it cool, kind of like, which also struck me as weird because Ben and his sister had made the new cool bike. So why not just ask them if they could use the design or have them redesign it? Like, it seemed like a good opportunity to be like, use their strengths. Like, whereas also I'm impressed she had time to do a new blueprint because she was out fighting until like a minute ago, I mean, I guess it's the next day, but
true.
Matt says, I've rewatched the episodes a few dozen times. That's why I remember them. Oh, I see. I usually watch it twice. I watch it once just to enjoy it, and then I watch it a second time so I could pull the screenshots for the show. But still, that's not enough to memorize everything that quickly. But yeah, so she pulls out the blueprint. And meanwhile, here comes the mayor. Oh, by the way, in the first episode, the mayor wasn't in the second episode. In the first episode, I had said he was my least favorite character. Not that he was terrible, but I like everybody, and he was just my least favorite. I liked him better in this episode. His acting was a little less severe. His accent was better. Whatever it was, he was better this episode. But going back to what I was saying about the bikes and how they're small, he's a big man. He's tall. And he looks ridiculous on this bike. And that's not the fault of the actor.
Yeah, when he was standing on it, I was like,
and he comes in, he slides in. And I understand that, it's supposed to be, he's seen the light and it worked. And that's all great, happy ending. I don't think having him come on the bike really sold the premise that, yeah, business people are going to be riding these bikes.
I get it from both sides. But I see the point of because these bikes are specifically the way they're set up, that's why it had to be what it had to be.
I agree, but I wish that they had two versions. I just wish they had like a more of like a 10-speed, kind of bigger bike next to it. And yeah, again, it's a nitpick, but I feel like putting him on it, like all the thoughts I had of like, would this really work? When I saw him on it, I'm like, no, like he should not have been on the bike, or giving him a bigger one, something. It's a nitpick, but whatever. And then here's the footage. Oh, this is why it changed. Here's Power Rangers doing superpowers on it. Actually, you know what? I noticed that shot never existed because we just looked at it, and there's the shot of the Red Ranger doing that flip, and then a second later, those two go up. So this is like a composite of two different moments. It's not important because they just wanted to show it for the show, but that did not actually exist.
It may have happened on the way to the warehouse.
Apologist. Oh, Ox showed up. Hey, what's up, Ox? No, I'm late. When did we started about an hour and 20 minutes ago. We're actually close to the end. He's here to show his support for Crush, the Gorilla Zord. Wait, Crush? Is it Crush? Were we saying the wrong name?
Matt will tell us in a moment. I have strong confidence.
No, it's Smash. Matt had said it earlier. It's Smash. Unless is Crush the name when they combine? Like Smash is when he's a Beast Bot, and then Crush is when it turns. Is Crush the name of the Zord, the large Zord? I didn't realize he had a second name. Well, either he has a second name or Ox isn't mistaken. Yes, Ox, I dyed my hair blonde.
It's Smash.
The Beast Bot. Okay, so yeah, I'll trust Matt.
Yeah, I told you, Matt will always steer us true.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
So we get that he's on board. Now this, going back to my earlier thing about Ox, it's Smash. Okay, so everybody's agreeing. Going back to my earlier point about the weird politics in Power Rangers world, from what I could tell is who is in this scene? The mayor, his aide, the Power Rangers, her mom, who's a reporter, and the cameraman. Everyone else is a construction worker of some sort. And he says, all right, the bikes are going to work. We're going to go with it. That's good. It saves the money. It's better for the environment. Sure, it's a happy ending. But then he makes a little speech. where he basically says, "Hey everybody, you're fired. Hooray for me, right?" Because nobody there that he's talking to is going to be happy to learn that they've just lost their job. There's no bigger crowd. It wasn't like there were a bunch of protesters that are on his side.
Yeah.
It's literally just people who are now losing their jobs.
Awkward.
And like I think that it's the right outcome for the world, but he wasn't even like, move on down to the next. Like they could have had something like, we're going to move you over to the construction site down there. Like all I could think of, these people are not happy about this speech at all.
I will be super apologist once again and hope that he's like, you may not be working on this project, but you can help Grid Battle Force with these green bikes.
Yeah, we're gonna set up a new factory to build the bikes. It's just some little throwaway thing because it definitely was a weird. It was a happy ending except for everybody he was talking to in this vests. Alex says, have you guys watched any of the Sentai series? The story is completely different from America's. I have watched several Sentai. I have not watched Go Busters, which is what this is based on, but usually it's different.
I've watched one crossover movie of Go Busters, and I agree, it is significantly different.
Ox says, I caught half of the episode 3 because I couldn't find a US version. Oh, that's funny. The Nick app will have it a little bit after it airs. There are also other ways you could find it, which I don't want to, endorse, but it's out there,
Yeah.
So then... Oh yeah, here. This is that's the. Oh man, like they don't look happy. They're like, all right, I guess we're done. And if you look at the background here, this guy's looking at it. He's like, we've been out here for 20 minutes. What did?
No, that's a construction worker. That's not Jax.
Oh, you're right.
They don't need to have the same voice.
I think Jax is programmed by a construction worker.
He's an everyman.
He's an everyman. And so he's like, oh, good job, you did it. She solves big problems. They brought that back again. And again, it's a little unbelievable, but fine, whatever. It's Power Rangers. Oh, and then she's like, boy, oh boy, thanks to the Power Rangers. And then she, again, very awkwardly, is like, yes, thank you, Power Ranger. Why she looks up, like, if I don't know where, let me give myself a one shot. If I don't know where, like, if I wanted to think, oh, the Bigdawg, he got me this cup of tea and he left, and someone's like, oh, we left that for you, I wouldn't be like, thanks for the cup of tea, Bigdawg, wherever you are. Like, I'd just be like, oh, cool. Well, tell him thanks, or that was nice of him. It's just weird that she's like, thank you, Power. Unless she's trying not to meet the gaze of her fellow Rangers, so she's like, yeah, I don't know. Like she's afraid she'll
maybe
like
she's
crack
thinking
up.
Like they'll hear her from wherever they're waiting to spring into action. Or whatever.
but I love it because it's awkward and she plays it well. But it's just a funny like.
Yeah.
Let's see. Matt says, I think the Nick app already has it since Brennan Dino Chargers is watching. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, Brennan Mejia does Ranger reviews. I think he's the only actual Ranger that does reviews of the shows. He did one like as a one-off in between his fitness videos and stuff, and he said it got like more views than anything he's ever done. So he's like, I guess I'll keep doing this.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah. He's a nice guy. I've met him a few times, so good. Give him the love. Follow Brennan. And Samrock says, it was put up today, but not in the earlier part of the day. Oh, okay. Samrock's also, I want to see the boombox bikes.
Oh, yeah. I love when she's like, we'll just make them really cool.
Yeah.
We're going to do this. We're going to do this. It's going to be neon. It's going to be great.
Well, how much you want to make a bet we never see them again?
Yeah, we probably
Here's what I want. I don't want it to be a plot point again, but if they have in the background the little bike stands just to establish in this world it worked, I would love it. But I don't think we'll get that.
You know what would be the coolest thing ever that's definitely not going to happen?
What's that?
Is if they put all of these attributes on it, but instead of bright, just like generic colors, it's bright neon pink and bright neon green. And what's that crossover? Kamen Rider X-Aid.
That would be amazing. I don't think that would happen in America because, well, I guess if they just got the suit and called it something else, because we don't have like a Kamen Rider like thing going on in America right now. They can make it work. They can make it work. They can make it work. It is very video game. They could do a thing where he's like a good guy avatar, like they programmed that. Whatever. We're getting into fan fiction. That's
all right. Last part of the fan fiction rabbit hole, and then we'll move on. He is the avatar / main helper in the battle simulator.
Okay. All right. Well done.
There we go. Thank you. I'm here till the stream's over, and then I'm back next week.
Sounds normal. So here's Silva. He's like, hey, look, we got our buddy who's the cutest one in the show. Let's put him on a rock. And Big Dawg Defender's like, I hate things that are cute. And they put him on the rock.
I am not pro lizard.
It's a cute little lizard. I had
No,
lizards
I
as
know
pets
it's
when I
fine.
was a kid, so I used to let them hang out on my shirt and stuff. They're nice. Um, so then here comes these guys, and it kind of ends on a comedic note. I also I think I mentioned this before, but I like that they continue to the very end. Like the credits play over, so we get a few more minutes of show. I know they did that with
Hmm.
RPM. I can't remember what other seasons they've done it for, but I always like getting a little bit of extra.
Yeah, the biggest problem I had with the last 2 or 3 seasons was it's like, and the episode's over, boom, immediately SpongeBob. It
Yeah.
was like, whoa, hang on, give us a moment, please.
Ox is saying he's got to show support for his girl Roxy. Yeah, Roxy got a lot of love in this episode for sure.
Yeah,
So they say, oh, we got an idea when our bike got split. We'll make it unicycle. Again, science that doesn't make sense, but it's Morphex, so it's fine. Showing
yep,
that they
all
are
science.
they are competent enough to make this work, but they're goofy
Hmm.
enough that wait, we don't know how to ride unicycles. And so she gives a face, he gives an even better face, and then
Yeah,
everyone
his
kind of.
face acting is by far the best out of everyone in the series.
I don't know if it's the best. Everybody's good. I think they have moments. This episode, I think he was the best. But in the previous episode, I thought she did a better job. But again, it's like comparing Major League Baseball players. They're all doing great. I don't know why I said that
True.
because I don't even follow sports. But you know what I mean? Like they're all doing great. And
Yeah.
then another similar like, oh, we're kind of laughing, but we're concerned. Like it's not just ha ha ha. It's sort of like, oop, and I think that ends our episode. Yep, that's
Yeah.
episode 3, Beast Morphers. So overall, like I said, I liked it. I think I was a little worried when I saw the bike chase scene that we were going to get our first clunker episode. But overall, I thought it was a good episode and had some really high highs with Zoe and some other things going on there.
And with Roxy.
Yeah, the Zoe and Roxy thing. Oh, I
Yeah.
realized my art video stopped. I normally finish it completely. I think I still need to do some coloring on it because I'm working on. I'm going to be going to Power Morphicon Express in Texas in a few weeks, and I'm working on some last minute new prints for some of the guests that'll be there and stuff. So I actually did 2 headshots since last week, but I did not record them. So I did Zeo Blue right here, and I
Hmm.
also then did Time Pink. Oops, let me erase that. Time Pink, but I didn't record the process for either of those. So I was like, oh no, I got to do a new one for the show. So I was working on it earlier today, and I didn't get to finish it, but it was. Let me see, where is it? It was Bulk in his goofy ranger costume that he built. So that's mostly done. I got to finish the coloring, but that will be a print I'll be doing because Paulie's going to be there. And I already have a Hyperforce yellow, but I took a poll on Twitter between a few things. What should I do? This one won, so I'll finish that up later today. And that, along with those two, will be prints I will have available amongst many, many others at the show.
Hmm.
Um, and with that, I think, let me check my notes. I think we're pretty much at the end here. Anything else you want to throw out, Bigdawg?
Um, one thing you mentioned about the Major League Baseball comparison, for those who haven't watched the show or are catching this on YouTube, things like that, sometimes it seems like we're very critical of this because it's so good.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
like sometimes we literally have to fish for like a negative thing just so you don't think, okay, they just think everything's great with the show and have nothing bad to say. This is way better than we've had in a while.
yeah,
Very good breath of fresh air.
yes,
But don't think that we're trying to go in too hard in it or trying to go too easy or things like that. We just want to give the good, the bad, and the ugly with it.
yep,
So that's what I have to
yeah.
say
And
about
I, and
that
I
one.
think if all we said was everything good, then it would have no meaning. So we
Exactly.
point out the things where they maybe, and it's not even like they're failing. It's like this isn't as good as some of the other things. But again, this is the best season we've had in a long time, and we
Hmm.
both are very happy with it so far. Let me see. Uh, Ox is asking about. Oh, I did just show it. Yeah. Pretty much enjoyable thus far. Good. I'm glad because Ox is new. Well, he's kind of come back, having not watched it since he was a
Hmm.
kid. Yeah, and the other thing is, we love when people come and watch live. If you have any questions, comments, jump in. As you saw, we got some help from Matt. And then we
Hmm.
rebroadcast it on YouTube. So if you're watching it there in the comments, you could also ask things about us, about the show. You could request things you'd like us to talk about. But generally, what we do is we come in, we say, here's any Power Rangers news we've heard recently, talk about that, then we get into the show. And I'm always doing some art because I'm primarily an artist. This is kind of a new thing for me, but I do a lot of Power Ranger art, so I'll always have a new piece of art being drawn above me is the goal. And yeah, I think that's about it. So thank you to everybody in chat. Thank you to everybody
Thank
watching
you.
it live. Thank you to everybody watching it later. Thank you to the Big Dog Defender,
As always, thank you, Gazbot.
and may the power protect you.